All right, I have sealed medical records that say my name is Daniel Louis Crumpton, so I'm going to believe the psychiatrist for the moment. Today is March the 5th, 2016. It also happens to be my late father's birthday, so happy birthday, Dad. I know you're out there somewhere listening. And tonight is going to be a very, very special night that has been several years in the making. We have Kim Ochellii in the passenger seat. Kim, are you with me?
I'm here. Hi, Daniel. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. Don't get me in trouble tonight.
Oh, don't you worry.
Every time you come on the air with me, I get in trouble, but not tonight.
Not tonight, sir.
No, tonight we have a very special guest that I have waited years to speak with. His name is Santos Bonacci. He really needs no introduction, but for the sake of correct manners, I will read a brief introduction. Santos Bonacci is the founder of UniversalTruthSchool.com. He's a musician and a researcher, and basically part of his bio, I'm not going to read all of it because I think the man speaks for himself. The underlying message of all the legendary books of mythology, including the Bible, is one and the same. Nature, the only book of God, in all her naked glory, is revealed to the ones that have eyes to see. The reoccurring cycles of nature are the basis of all the stories, in particular the day, the year, and the great year, or the Platonic year, scientific name precession, and the equinoxes. This cycle lasts around 24,000 years. The latter cycle is the cause of the zodiacal ages. The age of Pisces is giving way to the age of Aquarius, and we have just crossed over a great galactic alignment that takes place once every 24,000 years. So that's all I'm going to read of his bio, because I'm going to let the man himself explain exactly. Santos, you with us?
I am, brother. Thank you.
Santos, most of my audience already knows what astrotheology is and what syncretism is. And like I was telling you before we actually went to air, years and years ago, when I first started my spiritual journey, and I started to read things alongside the Bible, like the Bhagavad Gita and readings from Buddhist texts and other things. One of the things that I came across was that they were all saying the exact same thing in different words. And I felt like I was losing my mind. Now, here in America, I live in a place that we call the Bible Belt, which is, for the most part, Orthodox Christian. So if you have any beliefs that are outside of that, you tend to get demonized very, very quickly. But just as synchronicity or the universe would have it, I happened to come across a video that you did called Know Thyself, Part 1 and Part 2. And after I watched those two videos, I had to give a big sigh of relief in the fact that I did not feel like I was alone anymore, that there were other people who are out there who can make the connections that you are making. So if you could, for the listeners who aren't familiar with astrotheology or syncretism, could you give a breakdown of that?
Yeah, for sure. Another good word for syncretism would be eclecticism. So the Neoplatonists of the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th century in Roman times didn't actually call themselves Neoplatonists. They called themselves eclectics, because they were able to include all the sciences, all the mythologies and cosmologies. And so this comparative, all-inclusive, holistic approach is only for those who really have ascended their minds and transcendentalized their minds from the material condition to the spiritual condition. And so this is what all the stories are about. They tell how we lose our minds, i.e. the prodigal son. We forget our source, creator. We forget who we are, in that we have an existence with the Paramatma, or the supreme soul, and we identify with the false ego and the body. And so the prodigal son eventually realizes that sleeping with the prostitutes and imbibing intoxicating liquor and wandering like a lunatic and an insane individual on this plane requires them, after a while, to sober up, turn back, and go back to their kingdom of glory. And so syncretism, the great arcanum, the perennial philosophy, the prisca theologia, whatever you want to call it, eclecticism, teaches how we can include all of these wonderful, wonderful mythologies. And syncretism, one of the basic tenets is that first and foremostly, we are servants of the source creator. Secondly, we acknowledge all the sacred scriptures to be just that, sacred. with the correct interpretation, of course. You mentioned the Bible Belt before and how, if you don't follow Jesus, you're going to get persecuted by these types. Well, what these poor individuals don't realize is that Jesus is Buddha, is Krishna, is Vishnu, is Shiva, is Brahma. They are all expansions of the source creator. Right. And so are we. In our bodies we have a soul called the Jiva soul, the Jiva Atma. And pay attention because Atma is a anagram for atom, which is Adam. And we are Adamites with anatomies. And so this Jiva Atma is minute. It's so minuscule you cannot see it. But next to it is the Paramatma, the Oversoul. And that's the body of Vishnu we call Jesus. This is why Jesus of the Sacred Heart is always pointing to the heart and upwards. And so it is about 4 inches high, and it is clearly visible by certain ones who have ascended their material minds. And so we have 2 souls, the Jiva Atma, the individual soul, which we get to keep forever and ever and ever. And we have the Paramatma, which is the Christ soul, which is universal, and it dwells within our temples, our Adam Kadmon temple of soul of man, Solomon. And so it's the ones of us that lose our identity with the false ego and identify with the true ego, the true individual, and ascend this animalistic mental mind that we have been given, which is part and parcel of this body. Mm-hmm. And so, unfortunately, many of our brothers and sisters that go to church have not awakened to this fact, that they are just going to a church to be taught according to their language that all is one and one is all, and that we will experience ultimately oneness with the source and difference at the same time. And that's the great secret doctrine, that we shall be one and different forever with the Creator. And these churches basically teach doctrines that pervert that teaching and corrupt it. And so, individuals believe that they only have the one life, and then again they believe, on the other hand, quite the opposite, that they will go to heaven and be one with God and not experience difference. And so there's a lot of convoluted teachings out there, but the scriptures are all clear. Bhagavad Gita, the Puranas, Mahabharata, Ramayana, all of these, the Bible, they all teach the same doctrine, and that is, as Jesus said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I and the Father are one. But this oneness is not just one thing. It is oneness in quality, not in quantity. So quantitatively we are different. But qualitatively we are one and the same with the Creator. Right. And this is glorious. Syncretism teaches this. The Neoplatonists, Porphyry, Plotinus, Ammonius Saccus, Iamblichus, Sallustius, Macrobius, all the greats who were eclectics taught this, and this is why Justinian closed down the Neoplatonic schools in the 6th century and favoured the Aristotelian materialist schools. Hence we have all these theories that people believe in: evolution, Big Bang, globe, gravity, and relativity. All these come from the materialist mind, and well and good if they believe that, but those are all false doctrines of demons. And basically I'm here to dispel those doctrines and bring people to the light as much as I can.
Right. It's been, in my experience anyway, that organized religion, I've said this several times, organized religion is set up to force us to find the differences in what we believe. And universal spiritualism or syncretism is about trying to find the similarities. Which is what you teach. I mean, in your teachings, you teach that it doesn't necessarily matter if the person of Jesus Christ was a literal historical figure, so much as if you adopt his characteristics, even if he was allegorical, right?
Exactly. The historical paradigm is set there for churchgoers as a model, and it's a good model. You know, it's great to have a man, God-man, to model oneself after. There's a lot of good in that. It's like putting training wheels on a bicycle for your child. It's very protective, and it's wonderful. But then you have to take those wheels off. You know, Santa Claus is a myth, but it's a true myth. It's very, very true. The Santa Claus story is very, very true. It happens within. And the Apostle Paul enlightened mankind in Colossians 1:26 and 27, where he says the great secret, the great doctrine is the Christ within you.
Right.
So whether Jesus walked the circuit of Galilee and he did this miracle and that miracle, those things they're dead in history. Those events are dead in dead history. And the scripture clearly tells us that the letter of the word kills, but the spirit, the literary, not the literal, the literary parts of scripture is what vivifies and gives life. So
right.
The Christ within will always be within. It will never die. And we need to honor that Christ, because by honoring the historical one more, we are deadening the living one within.
Right. And I don't know if you're a big movie buff. I'm a huge movie buff. I find a lot of philosophy and spirituality in movies, especially the Matrix trilogy. And you have this character named the Kid. And the Kid has a little bit of hero worship with Neo. And there's a scene where he says, you saved me. And Neo looks to him as the Christ figure of that story and says, no, I didn't save you. You saved yourself. And I think that is really, even when you read the Bible, that's what Christ was saying, is that it's the Christ within, it's the God Spirit that's within you. Not that you have to depend on some outside Messiah or some outside force for salvation. It's all done inside of you.
Exactly. Very true. And this is the power that we have. Yes, there are saviors, but those saviors are not our saviors. They are their own saviors. So if there was a Apollonius of Tyana, which all the philosophers subsequent to 0 year BC have ever said, every single one of them, from Celsus to Porphyry to Ralph Waldo Emerson, have ever said that the model for the historical Jesus was Apollonius of Tyana.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a savior, but he saved himself.
Right.
See, so we can call these men saviors. Yes, it's good to honor these men and women and call them saviors, because they saved themselves first, set the model, because they did all the hard work. They abstained from all the flesh-eating and drunkenness and fornication and gambling and all of the vices, and showed and led the way. And so now we are saved because we have some light to look upon. That if we only have buffoons and dunces surrounding us and we think that these are great men and give them glory, we become like them. And so they are saviors, yes, for themselves, and we are saviors of ourselves.
Right. I've always said that Jesus is the great placebo. He made it absolutely clear whenever people asked him. He said, "All right, you believe I'm God in the flesh, right?" And they would say yes. And he would say, "Well, all right, well then I'm in God. So if you believe in me, then you're in me. So what does that make you?" And some people would scratch their heads. They didn't understand. But what he was saying is that we're all a part of the one. Whatever you want to call God, we're all it. All of us are God, observing ourselves from different perspectives. And, we choose different labels to put on ourselves to maybe understand those perspectives. But something I really wanted to ask you on a personal level, besides your teachings, is you were Jehovah's Witness for more than 20 years. Is that correct?
Yeah, probably more than that. That was the latter zealous part, where I was a ministerial servant and regular pioneer. But I suppose you could add the years from when I was baptized as a Catholic at 2, and then my parents became Jehovah's Witnesses, grew me up and as a witness, and at the age of 14, I started looking around, didn't I? There were girls, there was a little bit of weed to smoke here and there was some good rock and roll, Led Zeppelin came along, and so I left the Witnesses all my teenage years, and then at the age of 19, I was running a restaurant, with my sister, and I wanted to serve God, and the only good thing that I knew in terms of religions was Jehovah's Witnesses. So I turned to them, and I'm not regretful at all that I did. I would never do that again, of course, because they are just another corporate lying so-called Christian church. But I did 20 good, long, zealous years. And if you add the 10 years before I left them as a teenager, that would amount to about 30 years.
What was that like being, I wasn't raised in any particular faith. My parents kind of let me choose for myself. However, I did become a Christian apologist later and had to study what Southern Baptists would call, Christian cults, Jehovah's Witnesses being one. But what was it like, being in the Watchtower as far as, I'm really curious to know what the psychological mindset of somebody who's in the Watchtower is.
Well, to keep it simple, it's unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
And that unnatural vibe about knocking on people's doors, etc., is a form of mind control. And so these churches do not realize that Christianity should be natural. It should be free-flowing. And people's development and evolution on a personal level should be able to grasp what they can grasp from it. If these churches turned around and started telling and teaching the true esoteric inner meanings of their scriptures, the natural flow would happen, and people would just realize that they are all Christ's, that they are all God's, like you said, that they are all progeny of the divine source in quality, not quantity, not yet, and they would naturally allow that Christic divine energy to flow, and they would just be and let be. And so what we have, though, on the other hand, is 30,000 registered Christian corporate churches, and every one of them will tell you that the other 29,999 are evil and demonic and Satan worshippers. Mm-hmm. So the Mormons will tell you that the Seventh-day Adventists are evil demon worshippers. Mm-hmm. The Seventh-day Adventists will tell you that the Jehovah's Witnesses are the Baptists against the Catholics, the Protestants against the etc., etc. And so you only have to ask them to condemn themselves that they are all Satanists. And that's why Jesus said, many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not expel demons and perform great miracles in your name? And yet I will say to you, confess to them in that day, get away from me, you workers of lawlessness. I never knew you.
Right. So you did the whole door knocking thing?
Oh yeah, Matt, I served in a Portuguese-speaking congregation for 4 years in the city of Melbourne, contacting all the Portuguese-speaking people, Mozambique, Angola, Madeira, Azores, Brazil, all those Portuguese races speaking. I did French, I did Spanish, I served in an Italian-speaking congregation for 4 years. I was a ministerial servant, travelling around speaking in various congregations in my circuit. Oh yeah, I was very, very zealous. And
well, it's been my experience that I hate to use this word with you, Santos, but the hardest people to deprogram are Jehovah's Witnesses. They are so programmed. They're just imbued with fear over asking questions, specifically with the Watchtower. So I gotta ask, what was it that got you out of the Watchtower? What was it that made you start to question what you were being told?
Intelligence, paying attention, discernment, loving the Creator, watching, reading, studying, all of these things just naturally pull you out of that Rothschild-owned, psychopathic, pedophile, corporate Christian, so-called Christian church. Mm-hmm. You keep your eyes open, you keep your heart open to the Creator source, and eventually you will be one and the same with the Creator, and you will leave. Churches are like tunnels. You go into a tunnel to get the hell out of it on the other side.
That's right.
And so you'll see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just keep working towards it. The ones who are undeveloped and still immature in Christ and still need the milk of the Word will stay in there for boot camp-like experiences so that they can be punished and tormented until they wake the hell up and get out of there and serve the true Jehovah, which is connected to that word I used before, Jiva. Jiva is life, the Jiva Atma. And that's who Jehovah really is. It's a Sanskrit word, they all are. And Jehovah is Jiva, life, the source of life, the giver or the Jiva of life. That's where the word give comes from, because the Creator gives and provides. Actually, He provides. He doesn't really give anyone anything. He doesn't give you this and that. He provides it. And so the great provider provides the truth for us if we have a good heart. And intelligence is a gift from the Creator. And if we exercise it correctly, it will lead us with the Holy Spirit to all truth. There will never be any doubt about this. And so how to tell that these corporate churches are working for the demons and they're all demon controlled? Well, they're mind controlled. For a start, here's one way. What sort of money do they collect in their donation boxes and contribution boxes? If it isn't fiat currency, which is owned all over the world by the Rothschilds. That's one demon family, is it not?
Right.
Yeah. And they are a coven of witches and a den of thieves, hypocrites, money changers, Pharisees, and offspring of vipers. And they collect that money earnestly. Earnestly. They beg you to put money, Rothschild blood money, in their contribution boxes. There's one reason you know that the Jehovah's Witnesses work for demons and are a demon-controlled organization. Number two, do they tell their unsuspecting little dupes that they have a legal name which is owned entirely by the Holy See, the Roman Curia, and the Vatican? That all caps name is the Book of Death. So when they preach from their little soapboxes, all of these elders that are pedophiles from their platform of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and they say that you must put your name in the Book of Life, do they tell their little ignoramus dupes that you have to remove yourself from the birth certificate dead commercial name and put it back on the record through your nation as a recorded, not a registered birth certificate name, but a recorded name in the Book of Life? No, they don't. Why? Because they are a commercial corporate church under the leadings and direction of the government, mind. And so when you have that legal name and you think you are that name, you are baptized as a person or a parson holding property for the Catholic Church. So they aren't Jehovah's Witnesses. They are only Jehovah's Witnesses in name. They are Catholic. They belong to the universal demonic religion of Catholicism. And so that's two ways, and there are other ways. I can mention many other ways in which you can point to that shows clearly and exposes them as a coven of witches and a den of thieves.
Well, would you say, and this is something that I found in my research, would you say that most of your Christian cults and Christian denominations are a part of the Roman Catholic system?
All of them that are registered. There are, I think, the Quakers and some of the Amish are not registered. Those are authentic Christian organizations. They are real, true Christians. But, again, They put all their focus on a historical Jesus, which is quite a shame. Thomas Paine, the great legend and superstar brother of ours, he said that the Christ story is a parody on the sun. It's the sun through the 12 signs of the zodiac, the 12 apostles, the 12 disciples, and he got it right. And his father and his family were Quakers, so he obviously must have stepped one step forward from that church, which I will not discredit because they are not registered. I believe, I hope I'm not wrong here, don't quote me, but there are a few churches that are not registered. Regis means king, earthly king, which is the crown, which is the commonwealth. The crown is Kronos. Kronos is Saturn. Saturn is Satan, master of time-space continuum, master of the material worlds. It's not God. It's not source creator. And so they are all paying attention to the historical Jesus and registered Regis with Satan, and so they belong to that one group.
And see, it's one of my beliefs that this literal interpretation of the Bible, specifically the literal interpretation of the book of Revelation, has a lot to do with what's going on in the Middle East, what's going on with Israel and Palestine. Me having spent, several years in the Southern Baptist Church, I see that they are politically motivated to help the nation state of Israel, and it's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy to bring about this bloodbath interpretation of the book of Revelation, which I don't think that's what the Bible or the book of Revelation is talking about at all, in my personal opinion. But what I wanted to ask you is, whenever I didn't want to go too far off topic, but whenever you first started to question what you were being taught about Jehovah's Witnesses, did you suffer persecution from family or from your church?
Yes, of course. Not direct persecution, but gossiping, ridiculing, and of course they will oppose you and avoid you, and in such ways they have their mechanisms whereby you are treated hostilely, and they disfellowship you ultimately because they have to keep their demonic ways pure from truth. So go figure. But that's how it works. Yes, I did get a lot of persecution, but I was wise enough to not throw my pearls to swine, and I did not let on too much about my findings until such time as I posted them in 2011 for the first time, and then of course it went public, and so I couldn't hold back the barrage of interest in what I was doing worldwide. Actually, I was surprised. I knew that what I discovered would go worldwide, and I knew that nothing, absolutely no force in the universe would stop the syncretism that I'd discovered, because I don't know how it came upon me, just an average Joe, just cruising along, trying to make a living, and I don't consider myself, I'm of average mentality, I'm of average intelligence, and nothing that I've ever done is that I see and know that I've done has been, exceptionally brilliant or genius. And so how syncretism came to me, I have no idea, but I knew that when I discovered and could see through the scriptures by the aid of the Holy Spirit, I knew that it was big, and I had to publish it, and I knew it would snowball until it would envelop the whole planet, and it is. It's getting right out of control now, brother. I'm swamped with inquiry, and I'm swamped with people just sending me all kinds of thankfulness and gratefulness for the work that I'm doing, and acknowledging that they know all of this that I'm sharing with the world deep down in their hearts, and finally they have met the truth face to face. So this is what sustains me and keeps me going.
Right. I mean, I'll tell you, I've only been doing radio for a few weeks now. I think this is the 10th episode, and I was very privileged to. I was talking about having you on with my next door neighbor the other day. I was out in my Zen garden getting it straightened up for the spring, and she started crying. Joy, if you're listening, hey. But she said, finally I feel like I'm not alone. I feel like I'm not in this world alone. And I think that that's one of the greatest things that you've done for me. And now I'm privileged to do it to other people is to make sure that people understand that this feeling that we all have, that what we were told, what we were taught from a very young age is not correct. It's something that burns inside of our bones, and we have this desire to seek the truth. And somehow or another, we're all, meeting each other, finding each other, in this universe, So.
We are. And we're not alone, and we are finding each other. And the materialists are very jealous of what syncretism is bringing to the world. They are trying and failing miserably to destroy and discredit syncretism and me. But all the good people are finding each other, The spiritualists have all found syncretism, and we're all together, and we're all banding up together and serving the Creator in truth. We love the Creator, we love the Source, and we know that we have the best thing and nothing will ever take it away from us. There are many who are so jealous of what we have because they can never, ever fathom with their evil hearts, as Isaac Newton said, it's not the mind of man that does not come to the Creator, it's the heart. The heart is putrid. And these individuals, they think they're smart, they think they're clever, and they may have 10 or 20 followers with their little YouTube channels, and they think they're pretty clever, but they will come a-crashing, they will come to naught, and they will never prevail against syncretism and the truth. It's nothing. It's here, it's back, and it's here to stay, and it will grow until it envelops the whole earth in a golden age, because only eclecticism, only syncretism, and forbearance and tolerance of truth will survive. The lie cannot survive. The lie is the darkness that tries to permeate in the light, but the light is able to squash the darkness and cast its light on it so that there will never be, a point of darkness in the lit up room. And this is why the Christ always speaks, I am the light of the world. I am the light, the truth, and the way. He that follows me will never walk in darkness again. Hence He says, let the dead bury their dead. So what the dead who are jealous of syncretism are doing as they, there's guys out there who are fervently they watch everything I do and listen to everything I say, and then next thing you know, there's a video up trying to discredit me. All they're doing is making me famous, They're just making syncretism famous, and they're just discrediting themselves and looking like idiots, going public on the internet, because you can never wipe off what you put on the internet. And all they're doing is putting to the public record their stupidity, their utter materialistic stupidity, and showing how much they love demons and pseudoscience and false teachings. That's all they're doing.
Right. I do
Daniel,
Yeah, go ahead, Kim.
Could I add something real quick?
Yes, you can.
Yes.
When I was a young girl, my mother used to try to have me go to Bible school, and I really never felt very comfortable doing that. But what really turned me off of the organized religion was when my oldest daughter, we were pressured to get her baptized, and the Presbyterian Church asked for 2 years worth of tax returns. So they could tell us how much we were to donate each week or each month. And to me, what if I was homeless and I didn't have a penny to my name? I wouldn't be welcomed into your church to worship God because I didn't have the money to pay. It just, that solidified my role from being religious to spiritual. I find being spiritual much more rewarding, I think.
Beautiful. What a beautiful story.
Yeah, one of the reasons that I'm the way that I am is, Santos, I'm very much, I respect my parents very much. And my father always told me that, when he was a young boy, his dad was a sharecropper, painter by trade. And he went to church when he was a young boy and saw all these farmers reaching in their pockets to grab whatever change they had to put in the collection plate. And it was a big preacher from New York City that had come down to Telfair County down here in Georgia. And when the collection plate got back up to the pulpit, he said, "This isn't enough. We need to do it again." And my dad said that, he saw this collection plate go back around and all these farmers were reaching even deeper, for the last little bit of jingle that they had in their pocket. And since that moment, my father was like, no, God's not here. He's not in this church. Meanwhile, the preacher was driving a Cadillac,
Right. Where exactly does that money go?
I'll tell you where.
Okay.
Google Rothschild royal palaces.
Indeed.
And you have a look at how many gold taps they have in their homes and how much marble they've stolen from all around the world and how many tombs that they've robbed, i.e. Howard Carter and Tutankhamun. You'll find that they have royal palaces all over the world full of stolen treasures, and all the money that the Baptists and the Jehovah's Witnesses collect go to that one family. They have been curating and looking after Vatican money since 1823. 1823, wow. The Rothschild, the Red Dragon, and the harlot who sits on many waters, the Vatican, have been in bed with each other and fomenting wars and all kinds of evil, communism, all kinds of fascism, all kinds of aberrations. And basically it's a pimpocracy, and the pimps are the Rothschild family and all the other elite families. I'll name them all: Orsini, Aldobrandini, Friscobaldi, Farnese, Borgia, Saxe-Coburg-Gotha, Guelph, Beauce-Lyon, Hanover, Habsburg, Rockefeller, Russell, all of these demon bloodlines. The reason you see they protect their bloodlines is because they're demons. They're not humans like we are. They are demons, and they come from demon bloodlines, Nephilim. They're not from here. They are not people like we are. They have no empathy. They are sick, demented demons. Hillary Clinton, she's a demon. The Bushes, they are demons. The Rodhams, that's where Hillary comes from, the Rodham family. That's another demon bloodline. And they're not royal. They are satanic, Luciferian, if you want to use those words in the incorrect way that a lot of people identify with, just so that people know what we're talking about. But they are murderous, child-sacrificing. They must drink blood of fresh little children constantly. Every day they drink blood of children. They carry it around with them in their briefcases. And they are Satanists, and they sacrifice to their egregores and their demons.
This is true. And people are not quite ready for that, but it's the truth. It was often said that Al Gore has a hemoglobin problem, and we know that's not the case. He carries blood with him everywhere he goes.
I was trying to think of who that was, Dan.
It was Al Gore. Santos, I want you to discuss, this is something that I find very fascinating. It's a topic that I'm really all about, is the name on your birth certificate.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that name. Well, basically, guys, I think it's time we got out of that legal name commercial harlotry business. We do not need this name. Without being dishonourable to our parents' ancestry, they've hijacked the father's name, in my case Bonaccii, and they've made a corporation out of it, and basically caused that well, they haven't caused that individual, that person to be dead. It is dead. It's an all caps name, Capitis Diminutia Maxima. And so, having that name and using it as our main interface commercially and in every other of our social transactions causes us to have our name in the book of death, and whereby we are dead by assuming it and presuming it to be ourselves, which we are not. We are source. We are one and the same with God. Mm-hmm. And so I would be looking at ways of getting out of that name. And so what I've found is there are waivers. There's a guy kicking around who's a friend of mine called Curtis Cullenbach. Now he has some beautiful, amazing information about how to lose that name. And there are other great people out there. It's just that I don't agree with all of their I don't agree with all of their way of, getting out of that name. But Curtis Cullenbach has a beautiful waiver, and I don't know whether you've heard of it. Have you heard of that 33-word waiver?
No.
Okay, here it is. I'll read it out to you. And grab a pen, listeners, and write this down, and check out Curtis Cullenbach on his presentations and interview with Peter Eugene. I suppose I can flick over the video to you and you can share it with your listeners. But this is the waiver. 33 words. From the beginning, with God as my witness, I, Santo, a true man of God, where have I gone? Acknowledge all blessings given by God, repent all transgressions against God, and waive all claims without God. And so you'll get 3 attestors to put their red ink thumbprint next to their autographs, not signatures, and get that recorded and certified and put into any case file you might have pending. And that will basically take you out of dead man jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. So I'll repeat that waiver again, please. Please allow me. Because this is very, very important, and we need to grab a pen and write this down, all in lowercase wordings, guys, without no full stop or period at the end of the sentence, okay? From the beginning, comma, with God as my witness, comma, I, comma, Santo, comma, a true man of God, comma, acknowledge all blessings given by God, comma, repent all transgressions against God. I think he's got a semicolon there. I can't see. Anyway. And waive all claims without God. No period. So what you're doing now is you're showing that you are God's source.
Right.
Child of God and in God's jurisdiction, and no man will judge you because no man can.
Well, I know that for me, the name that's on my birth certificate is not Daniel Louis Crumpton. But that's a name that, the name that is on my birth certificate, I never felt like it was me. I felt like it was alien to me, and chose my own name, when I was about 14 years old, and have went by Daniel Louis Crumpton since. And I think that, it's this, most people that I talk to who are spiritually inclined, who are ascending, so to speak, they don't feel like the name that they were given identifies them. It just doesn't feel right to them. And I think that this goes back to a lot of what Jordan Maxwell talks about, is the Vatican using your birth name to traffic your soul on the stock market, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That birth certificate is a bond. It's a security for future transactions against your good name, against your word, your bond. And so they securitize it. It's a certificate, and it's a security on the bond market. or the stock market. And bond and stock are two words that come from the Inquisition. And of course that's because the Inquisition is still on. It's a Vatican Inquisition. Mm-hmm. And that's ecclesiastical law. And so they're in the salvage business, you see. So what they do is they salvage those certificates and float them. And so now you're saved. Now you live forever in the Catholic system. And so that corporate name lives forever, does it not? Right. And so what they're doing is they're actually using maritime law to take us off the land, off God's land, and put us on their ships, their citizen ships, slave ships. And so what they're doing now is they're making us ghosts and dead, and this is why they summons you to their courts for a hearing, to hear the dead speak and give life to their documents, because they know it's a satanic ritual, and they know that they can't get away with it unless you're complicit with them. And so then they have your blessing. So this is why we have to get out and trust God. This is why the scriptures say, do not put your trust in men, whose spirit departs from them on the day of their death. Right. So we must put our trust in God. So how to do this? Well, you get out of their jurisdiction by waiving all their claims without God. That'll fix their business, their people trafficking business real nice, won't it? That'll really turn their money changing tables, because all they're doing is changing your sweat equity for filthy Rothschild blood demon money. Right. That's all they're doing.
Well, we're coming up on a break in about 10 minutes, so I don't want to get too deep into another topic, but there is something I really want to discuss with you, and it is the controversial flat earth theory. I'll go ahead and say right now that I am not a flat earther. I am not a globalist, and until I can afford a rocket ship to verify it for myself, I probably will not be either. However, I do believe that the conversation needs to happen. I have seen several hours of different videographers who have presented flat Earth, and I understand that you, Santos, have kind of joined in with that. And what I'm really curious to know is, in light of converting over to flat Earth theory, how has that changed your thoughts on astrotheology?
The change over to geocentrism from Copernican heliocentrism has benefited me mega-fold, endlessly. The benefits are endless. And it's not a flat Earth theory. It's actually a fact. Now, let me just give you three reasons why I say that. Mm-hmm. First of all, here's Copernicus. In his book, The Revolutions of the Celestial Spheres in 1543, he published this: the hypothesis theory of the movement of the Earth, which is only useful to explain certain phenomena, should not be considered as absolute truth. So there's the theory. It's a globe theory, just as relativity is a theory, and just as Big Bang and evolution and gravity is a theory. Tesla debunked gravity and relativity in one fell sweep. The reason why I say it is a fact is because it is a fact, and because I concur with Sagnac, Michelson Morley, and George Airy, that performed scientific experiments in the late 1800s to confirm conclusively, beyond all doubt, forever and ever and ever, that the Earth moves not, and that it is a flat plane. Mm. So I have those on my side. I have scientists who have done all the testing. Michelson Morley. You can even go to Wikipedia if you just want to do a superficial check on that. And there are many others that have done tests and proved conclusively that there's no spin, there's no orbit, there's no movement at all whatsoever of this beautiful Earth. And there is another guy, check out Michelson Gale. That's another experiment. The third reason why I know it's a fact is because Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, the Puranas, Ramayana, Mahabharata, the Holy Bible, Quran, they all confirm it's a flat plane. There's no heliocentrism in all of the great, great works going back 500 years back. Since time immemorial, in all of the Holy Scriptures, in every ancient text, all of them without one. The Mayans, the Egyptians, they all said we lived on a flat earth and it was either square or round or rectangular. Cosmas of the 6th century wrote the book called Christian Topography, and he says that the earth is rectangular in the shape of the tabernacle of the Jews of Moses in the wilderness. There has never ever been anything subsequent to our holy texts where a globe exists and never will. And so I have all the scientists on my side. I have all the Holy Scriptures on my side. I have common sense on my side. I have Copernicus himself saying it's a hypothesis, just as the hypothesis of gravity, as Newton frankly and honestly admitted, is simply a hypothesis. And so we have all the scientists concurring, and we have no reason to believe that we're living on a spinning globe. Not even the CGI cartoon images of NASA and, the blue marble and all of this. They are clearly cartoons. Hence, you'll see that the 72 image of the Earth of the astronauts of Apollo 13 have a much smaller, reduced North America. So in 30 years, America has grown 50% if you look at the blue marble compared to the 1972 Walt Disney / NASA cartoon of the god. So we don't have any photos. We have no real photos at all of a globe. We have no evidence except for this catchphrase called gravity, which Nikola Tesla, the true genius of history, debunked and laughed at and thought Einstein was a monkey man and Newton was a buffoon and a dunce and an idiot. And they truly are. And really, basically, what's happened is we have defaulted to theories of men and demons, and because of education. The education system supports it because they need to trick us to give us legal names and fiat currency and usury so that we can be slaves of the demons.
Well, even NASA says that we don't live on a globe. They say it's more of a pear shape, and like I said, until I can confirm it, myself with my own senses, I'm probably not going to be either way. However, I have had excursions into the metaphysical that would indicate to me that we live on a disk surrounded by a dome, but that can't be proved, especially in a court of law. But what I find fascinating is that, and I look to Hollywood and the movies that they produce. I look to them for truths that they're leaking out, and a lot of movies that I've seen, Dark City, Thor, things like that, the Earth is depicted as a disk, not as a sphere, and it's always in the context of Earthlings or us being deceived as to the nature of reality. And so I think that speaks a lot to what, you're talking about. And like I said, I'm never going to go one way or the other until I can confirm it for myself.
Yes, that's very wise, Daniel. Very wise, brother. Stay there. Keep your mind open, and it's good that your heart is open to listening to different researchers and so forth, because some do not even do that, and that's very, very sad.
All right, guys. Well, Santos, we're coming up on a break. This is going to be a very deep discussion on the back half of the hour, and we'll see you right after the break. Daniel Louis Crumpton on Sit in the Car Radio. March the 5th, 2016. Daniel Louis Crumpton here. If you're listening, you don't have a date, and that's sad, and we all weep for you, and that's okay. Tonight we have Kim Ochellii in the passenger seat, and Santos Bonacci is our guest. We've been discussing everything from astrotheology, syncretism, flat earth, Jehovah's Witnesses, and everything in between. You guys there?
We are.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
All right, Santos. Let's see. We left off with flat earth. And like I said, I'm a skeptic. I'm open to new information. But I was watching several of your videos today, the Know Thyself, and was wanting to know how it has altered your teachings as far as astrotheology goes. So if you could expound a little bit more on that.
Yeah, it hasn't changed much from the teaching point of view when you look at the sine wave that I do of the ecliptic, because it's all based on the ecliptic. It's not based on the shape of the Earth at all. And so the only thing that needs to be corrected is when I use the heliocentric model, just one needs to shift that from heliocentric to geocentric, and everything stays the same. Nothing changes. All the presentations are still valid. All the information is still correct, except for the where to center the ecliptic. See, I've always based my information on the wave form, because it's a wave form universe. It's all thought waves. And so when I discovered that astrology is based on the wave, language is based on the wave, numbers are based on the wave, electricity is based on the wave, everything was based on the wave, well, I just grabbed the most handy wave that I possibly could, which is the fractal that we can get more information from, which is the ecliptic of the sun. So I just grabbed the ecliptic of the sun and said, well, okay, well, let's start here where all sine waves begin, at the equinox, at the equator of the sine wave, and let's see what happens. And lo and behold, every science, every theology, everything, every thought is based on that sine wave. So it doesn't really take into account necessarily what the planets are doing and what shape they have. It's based purely and simple on the fact that this electrical manifest world is controlled by magnetism, and which manifests as electricity. And electricity is a bipolar force. It's one force, and it's two-sexed, and it's bipolar, and it's what gives dimension and amplitude and substance to the so-called physical world. So all is electrical. And so if it vibrates and it has polarity, well then it must be a waveform. And so everything that's not a waveform goes back to source. And I would say that source is magnetic. It's the controller of everything. Magnetism controls everything. And Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is said to be the supreme controller. Ishwara Paramakrishna. Ishwara Paramakrishna means the supreme controller of the universe. And so, obviously, he is intrinsically connected to the power of, intelligent power that is, of magnetism. And his external, Maya Durga, external force would be electricity. It's pretty simple. I mean, Mother Nature is just so goddamn simple. And you get all these quantum mechanics and relativity idiots that complicate things and just muddy the waters even more, and people following them and bowing down to idiots like Richard Feynman and Einstein and all these buffoons who are quantum mechanics. They've got no idea. It's all magnetism. Everything is magnetic.
Would you say the rest of the planets are round, or are they disc-shaped too?
They're all discs. There's no roundness at all. There is rotundity to them, but they are discs. Ultimately, they are discs. This is why the Egyptians correctly had images of the sun as a disc. Check out Akhenaten's sun disk. Check out the Amun priesthood sun disk with wings, the winged sun disks. Even the Jehovah's Witnesses have a winged sun disk on their New Jersey Assembly Hall in New Jersey. You'll see it if you Google image that one. It's a disk. Well, the Egyptians knew their stuff, didn't they? They built pyramids and had a great culture. So might as well get the truth from them.
Mm. Also, earlier this week, I sent you, I think, passages from the book of Enoch, which is becoming ever so prevalent in the bigger picture of what we're doing. And the Book of Enoch would also indicate that we live on a disk type planet. But fascinating to think about. But like I told you, until I can get a rocket ship and confirm it for myself, I've talked to several pilots who have said that they've seen the curvature of the Earth, while they're up there. So I can't discount that. But I think that it's certainly a discussion that needs to happen. One of the reasons I think it needs to happen is because they told me it was a globe from youth. So, we have been deceived about everything from youth. And it's not beyond my scope to question the shape of the Earth, at this point. I mean, if you were to say that 9/11 was an inside job on the 12th of September 2001, you'd get a lot of strange looks. And I think that's where flat Earth theory, and I think flat Earth theory is a bad term for it, because obviously the Earth isn't flat. I mean, any way you look at it, it's going to have shape to it.
That's right.
But I think disk Earth is probably a better thing to try to call it.
Yep.
But
all of our language is deficient, really. But we are wise enough to discern the language limitations that we have and what we're really trying to say, as long as we open up our hearts. But you are right, and you're very wise in taking that stance. This is what a rational and good-hearted person will do. Whereas other individuals will tend to, due to their materialistic, crystallized mindset, will just stick to what the consensus people, the crowd, that crowd herd mentality, just to be safe, and they will, they'll stick there whilst they've got support. And then one day when the support is gone, they meekishly and humbly acknowledge they were incorrect. And this is what many of us have done. I've done it. I've done it many times. I can't tell you how many times I sent nasty messages back to people who were sending me Disk Earth videos, and boy, oh boy, I hope they didn't, jump off a cliff or commit suicide because of my nasty words, but I was very, very brutal.
Yeah.
And so, and I realize now, don't do that again, idiot, and I'm saying that to myself. I did that with other things. Some people have done it with 9/11, for instance. And then years later they did their due diligence and research, and then realized, whoops, I was wrong. So we've got to understand this. We are always in that area where we can be wrong. Why? Because we don't know everything. So we have to be humble. We need to be humble here, you see. Now, Now,
I've always said that the first step to gaining intelligence is to first admit your ignorance.
Oh yeah, man, we are so ignorant, it's not funny, man. The stuff we don't know is 1 billion times greater, endlessly almost, than what we do know.
Mm-hmm. Now, I want to steer it in a different direction. You talk a lot in your teachings about the cerebrospinal fluid. A lot of people know this as the Kundalini, and I have people who come to me for instruction on the Kundalini rising, which is to get this as you describe in your teachings, the Christos or the Christ or the oil or the Crisco from your head down into your spinal column and then bring it back up again. I would like for you to, let's see, we have an hour left, so describe the process, and anybody who is wishing to perform the Kundalini rising, which I would add, it's an extreme experience. I've done it, so get ready for your life to change. But what do they need to do to prepare themselves to get this oil back up into the most holy?
Beautiful. Great question. And I'm glad you turned the subject to this spiritual and beautiful ascension and transcendental subject. These are the best subjects for sure, by far. Our bodies, the Temple of Solomon that have been created by Source Creator, are a wonderful alchemical laboratory type mechanism whereby we can actually transmute the grosser parts thereof, sublimate the energies. And so we have 7 sub-brains along the spinal column, which is Excalibur. The spinal cord, 18 inches long in a man, half a yard, 17 in a woman. So that 18 inches long, that's your backyard. That's the measuring stick of the Temple of Solomon. That's the cubit. And so along that spinal cord are 7 nerve ganglions. And these, once they are activated, usually in the common herd, only the bottom few are activated. And the center one is the heart chakra. And so once they are all activated through the heart, of course, this is done through the heart and goodness, we really activate all the dormant brain cells in the cerebrum, and we return to heaven, which is in the head. So the body is the land, and the head is the heaven. And so all the cosmos is within us, our bodies. The head is heaved up, and heaved up is short for, well, that's where heaven comes from. And so to go to heaven, you need to go through that Jacob's ladder, through the spinal cord, and ascend the vibration of the oil, which is called Christ, Christos, chrism, in your Santes. And that.
Santos, if you would describe for the listeners how that oil is created through the optic thalamus.
Yes, okay. Well, it's actually created in the claustrum, which is called the Holy Claustrum or the Santa Claustrum, shortened to Santa Claus. And Santa Claus is right there under the cerebrum in the little claustrum or closet. That's what claustrum's short for. Closure, enclosure, or closet, or little room. And so this cerebro spinal fluid is produced there undifferentiated. Once it secretes into the third ventricle, it's differentiated by the pineal gland and the pituitary body. And they descend that fluid to get further differentiated through all the other endocrine system glands. And as they get further differentiated, they are further diminished in their potency. Mm-hmm. But Santa Claus at the North Pole, at the top of the head, the claustrum, produces a divine pure substance. It's called the manna from heaven. This is called manna. And this is why Jesus said to Nicodemus, to be born again, you must lift up the serpent, as Moses did in the wilderness, and you must lift up the Son of Man. Well, the Son of Man is the son of manna, because Jesus' parents, the Christ, Joseph and Mary. Joseph is the pineal gland and Mary is the pituitary body. And Mary, she sends her differentiated fluid in a negative channel down the Pingala nerve. And Joseph, the progenitor of the Christ, sends it in a positive channel down the Pingala. So pin, pineal, pin, Pingala. And so they send these fluids down and they go down to the sacrum. And this is why in Colossians 1:27-28 the Apostle Paul said, he talked about the sacred secret. Well, the sacred is the sacrum and the secret is the secretion of the manna from the claustrum. And he said, the sacred secret of the Christ within you, well, it's the sacred secretion. And as that secretion arrives at the sacrum, this is a 5 fused bones at the bottom, just above the coccyx, which is 4 fused bones. And this is a pivotal bone structure. and it pivots. It's a pump, and it's designed to pump the oils back up so that they can be refined, sublimated, and returned.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is something that I've said several times on air, is that the reason that most of us are traumatized before the age of 6 years old is because that sacred, the sacrum, it's before it fuses together into one bone.
Well, there you go. I didn't know that. That's amazing.
I mean, everyone that I've ever talked to who is spiritually minded, we've all been traumatized before that age. And it's before the age of 6 that the sacrum fuses together. And I believe, it's my personal belief, I know you talk about archons feeding off of us, feeding off of our negative energy, that the reason that we are traumatized before the age of 6 is because of that. This oil gets down there before it fuses at 6, they can sap it. And that's just my 2 cents. But please, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Please keep going as far as how does one get this oil back up their spinal column?
Beautiful. That's the original question. So we'll go back to the oil at the sacrum and how it goes back up. First of all, the individual must prepare the body for this to happen. And how they do that is through diet, first and foremostly. Meat eating is totally and utterly excluded from this process. So, and this is why Pythagoras, Plato, and all the transcendentalists of history were vegetarian or vegan. And so, once you looked after the body and changed the chemical nature of what you are ingesting, you then alkalize, you get the pH back to 7.3 or whatever, 7.3 something, and you balance the pH of the body. So we don't start in the spiritual area, although we are spiritual, and you see people, they run off and do yoga and meditation and all of that. If you're not eating spiritual food, see, dead animals are corpses, cadavers, and carcasses, and death begets death. Hence, the living dead. Let the dead bury their dead. And most people cannot understand this because they think, well, I'm eating meat and I'm alive and I'm healthy. Well, that may appear to be true, but it's not the meat that's keeping you alive. It's the other raw foods and foods that have vitality in them that are not death, that are living foods, whole foods. So, and the breath and the water that we drink. But the moment we eliminate death from our diet and blood and murder, then our conscience is enabled to liberate the soul from guilt, blood guilt, and then the process begins where the blood is purified and the cerebrospinal fluids are purified. And so this is the starting place, Daniel, the body. First is because you are what you eat. See, and if you want to be spiritual, you have to eat spiritual foods. So knowing this rule that you are what you eat, you change the diet first and get the chemistry of the body nice and balanced, and then concentrate on the emotional, the mental, and the spiritual side.
Right.
And don't put the cart before the horse.
Yeah, this is a difficult thing for people in America right now. I was a Presbyterian for years, and I can tell you that I never had greater clarity of mind, clarity of body, emotions when I was not eating meat. There's something about being able to imbibe food that gets its sustenance from the sun. And so I think it's a difficult thing here in America right now because we're being devastated economically. You know, so many people are starving, you know, here in America. It's not something that the world knows about, but there are so many people who are unemployed, can't get employed, and the only food that they can get is bad. You know, it's fast food. It's McDonald's, Burger King, things like that, which is you're taking in, like the Native Americans used to say, you are what you eat. You know, if you take in too much cow or cattle, you become like cattle. You really do take on those characteristics. So it's a discipline that people really are going to have to, they're going to have to do it on their own. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and preach that you need to be a vegetarian, you know, to people. That's not my place. What I can tell you is that by not eating meat, you do become a better person. And this process that you're talking about, which is getting the cerebral spinal fluid back up, is going to be easier if you eliminate meat from your diet and tip your pH scale more towards alkalinity. And there are several ways to do that. You don't have to go all vegan, you know, if that's not what higher spirit is calling you to do. But you need to make an effort to tip it that way to begin this process.
Very true. The diet needs to be changed slowly and deliberately by the individual. Very, very true. And so the change in the chemistry will be obvious immediately. And so doing this enables all the other parts to flow. The emotions sort themselves out. The parasites are less in the body, and they're not fed because they love, they love flesh, parasites. So you starve those out too. And so that's the starting point. And then, of course, you address the emotions. The emotions need to be looked at because they are what motivate us. There's the word motion is in there, and motivate is connected to motion. So the emotions need to be balanced and corrected. The mind needs to be clear. Drink a lot of water. Drinking a lot of water. Hydrogen and oxygen are the two most required elements for the body. So breathe deeply. Learn how to breathe with the diaphragm very deeply all the way down into the feet. Breathing is very, very important. Oxygenate the body and put a lot of hydrogen in the body. Water, good, clean water. What happens when you pour water into a dirty glass? After 10 or 20 minutes, drop by drop, it clears up, doesn't it?
Right.
And that's the same. It will clean up your emotions. It will clean your mind. Water will wash your mind. It will wash it clean.
All right.
So drink
Go ahead. Kim, you still there?
Yeah, actually, I wanted to say something about something we've changed here at home. Chuck used to not be able to eat eggs. And why am I
having a little bit of feedback from Kim? Santos, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about as soon as Kim gets her situation. You there?
Okay,
Yep.
Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Go ahead. You're fine.
We tried buying non-antibiotic fed chicken eggs and free-range chicken eggs, and he hasn't had a problem since. So even the little things that you eat will change.
Yep, for sure. Sure.
He couldn't eat regular, store brand eggs. He'd get terribly ill. And then we switched over to the organic fed chickens, and there isn't a problem. So there's a lot to be said about the poisons that they're putting in our food that's changing our chemistry.
Yes, Kim. And whilst what I'm about to say may receive laughs from many unbelievers, it is deliberate what they're putting in the foods. This is deliberately there, put in there by demons to pollute our temples and make us sick. There are some very, very sick demons controlling this world at the moment, and I think they've lost their control and they're about to go under because the universe will not sustain evil forever. There must come a time when the universe breaks the back of evil, and so that good can prosper.
It's also the same with vaccines. Chuck and I have a 20-month-old son, and he's not been vaccinated. And if you look at the childhood allergies, there wasn't this many children allergic to things when I was young. Now you have peanut butter allergies, you have a dairy allergy, you have wheat, you have, I mean, you name it. There's a special table for every type of allergy possible, and it's because they put that protein into the vaccines.
Yep.
And that's causing your body, their little body is fighting off that foreign organism.
Yep.
So, of course, now they're allergic to eggs, or now they're allergic to peanut butter. And I know it's all done by design. And people need to open their eyes and realize that we can control what we put in our body. We don't have to eat the processed food. There's a very simple rule. If it doesn't go bad, then it's not good for you.
That's right. That's right, sister. Yep. My son is 23. I didn't vaccinate him. And he thanks me. He thanks me from the bottom of his heart. He's so healthy. He's beautiful,
right.
Good looking. He's a musician. He's happy. He's got energy. No vaccinations. The moment you put vaccinations in your children, the immune system is working to fight that stuff out of your body, and it's constantly working to get rid of that thimerosal and mercury and all those toxins, free radicals, all sorts of poisons and shit that they put in there.
Exactly.
And so they're always getting flus and getting sick and asthma and PTSD and all sorts of troubles from these vaccinations.
Absolutely.
And it's deliberate
Is.
by demons. A lot of people can't understand this because they see human form and they think we're all equal, we're all humans, but they don't realize that most of the controllers out there and politicians are all demons. They are not human.
Well, I know this is kind of switching gears just a little bit, but I also think that people are afraid to question. I mean, I guess you would see your doctor as an authority figure, but they're afraid to question authority. The doctor tells you that this is what you need, so okay, well, you must know better. Well, there's a reason why it's called, a practice. And I don't choose to allow you to practice on me or my child. So there's my little soapbox for the moment.
No, they use it, and what's so scary about it is that you have so many young mothers who are so scared that they have got to get their kids vaccinated because if you don't get your kids vaccinated, you can't put them in school, you can't do this or that or whatever.
They threaten, child protective services on them, and being young. I mean, even being a little bit older, you get scared, and they force you to conform, and people just need to learn not to conform, and think with your own mind, and research and make your own decisions on anything, whether it be religion to the food you eat to the clothes you want to wear.
That's right.
Think for yourself.
Think for yourself.
Yep.
I think, we'd be a far better people.
All right, now, Santos, a topic we're at 30 minutes after, so I want to get into this with you. Solar gazing. You were the first person that I ever heard talk about solar gazing, and so I would like to give you an opportunity to talk about the benefits of solar gazing, how one can properly do it, and what they will benefit by solar gazing.
Great. Very good one. And I will finish the ascending the oils because there's a little bit more to go to that, but I would like to tackle this one for now. Solar gazing, especially when you're barefoot and connected to the soil, is the best way to receive the spiritual solar rays and magnetism through the eyes. Absolutely through the eyes. Many people fear this. They think that they're going to do damage to their eyes. there's only one way they can do damage to their eyes, and that is if they are really, really toxic and acidic. Acidity and mucus in the body is what will cause them to think that they've damaged their eyes. You see, they go away and say, oh, that hurt, oh, that didn't work, oh, that was awful, that was terrible. Yeah, because your body is acidic, and it's very, very, very sick, and anything will make you sick. This is why in Australia, the little children that go to school, they wear a hat because they get burns and they get melanoma and they get sun cancer and skin cancer and all sorts of things like that because the children are sick already. They're full of vaccines. They eat, meat and dairy products, and it's all toxic. They've got so many allergies. Of course, if they go out in the sun, they're going to get... So, all things being equal and in a good, healthy state, if you're reasonably healthy, you can do any kind of solar gazing. Now, let me qualify that. For those people who are acidic, because many people will be thinking, well, I don't know whether I'm acidic or sick or whether I should do it or not. Here, it's easy. This is how one should go about it. It doesn't matter how sick you are, you can still solar gaze. As long as you do a little of it. And as long as the sun is low in the sky where the UV rays aren't as powerful. But again, its influence is diminished anyway, so it's best to look at the sun at all times of the day when you get your body fit and when you get used to it. So, but the point is here, if you start when the sun is low in the sky and you start with 10 seconds, so you open your eyes and you look directly at the disk of the sun, directly, both eyes for 10 seconds, and that's your first introduction. The next day, you add another 10 seconds. The next day, you add another 10 seconds. And if it's rainy and cloudy for a week, you wait. And then when the sun comes the next time, you add another 10 seconds. So now you're up to 40 seconds. And then there's another week of clouds and rain. Well, then you wait. And then you add another 10 seconds. And you're up to 50 seconds. And then you get a week of sunshine. You add 10 seconds every day. You're up to 2 minutes. So now, what'll happen is you're doing this while the sun is low in the sky, and you're adding 10 seconds every day. So you're going cautiously, and you're adding magnetic, spiritual energy, voltage into it goes through the eyes, through the nerves, charges all the nerves with electrical current, because that's all the nerves run on, electricity. And it goes straight to the pineal gland, directly to the cerebrum, activating dormant brain cells, giving visions. I don't know how many syncretisms have come to me through solar gazing. I can't tell you how many. I've lost count. But I've been solar gazing, and voila, illumination. It just comes. But you've got to do it. And many of my syncretisms have come through that. And what you will see is you will see why the lamb is dressed in purple. Because when you look at the sun enough, you will see all the purple rays that are coming from it. You'll see orange, you'll see red. Depending on how you squint your eyes or how you shape your eyes, you will see the colour you want. But you will see all the colours of the rainbow, all of them. They're all in the sun, every one of them. But the sun is the lamb, Adam, the lamb, decked in purple. He's the golden one, but he is purple. The lamb is always decked. That's because Aries is the cerebrum and the crown chakra, which is indigo and violet. And that violet colour, you will see it in the sun. And when you do see that, you are being spiritualized. So depending on what colour you focus on the spectrum of the sun, it will heal. You know, if you focus on the red, for instance, which you will see, well, then you will heal your body. All the gross parts of your body will be transformed. If you focus on the yellows and the oranges, then you're starting to, sublimate your fluids, your blood, and etc. And then when you focus on the green, it's beautiful when you see the sun, the colour green in the sun when you're solar gazing. It's magic. Because that's your heart. And this strengthens your heart. And then when you see the blue, that royal blue, the throat chakra, then you start with your expanding your eloquence and your speech and your communication. And then when you see the purple, then you are spiritualizing your being. And so you must do this barefoot. Don't do it without your feet connecting to the earth, because that magnetism it doesn't flow. It doesn't flow through the body and out through the earth and be reabsorbed, and all the free radicals are not drained from the body through the feet. And so going back to raising the oils, this also enables the raising of the oil, because every month when the moon transits your sun sign, in my case Aries, so the moon is in a sign for 60 hours, 2.5 days. And every month she goes through every sign of the zodiac. 2.5 days in Aries, then she transits Aries and she goes into Taurus. And she spends 60 hours there, or 2.5 days. And then she progresses through to Gemini. And so the moon, she's a very fast lady. But when she transits your sun sign, so if you're Gemini, for instance, when the moon is in Gemini, and you need a moon tracker on the internet to follow the moon, make sure you know where the moon is daily, guys. And so when she is there, she is germinating a psychophysical seed in your solar plexus just above the sacrum. And this is a Christ being born, and you get 13 of these saviours born in your womb. Both male and female have this spiritual womb. And so she's the generator of the Christ in you. She is the mother, the virgin. And this is called the virgin birth. You see, there's no sex for these births. You don't have to have sex. In fact, during this 3 days, these holy 3 days of when the moon is in your sun sign, this is a day for abstinence, moderation, meditation, and all good practices. All good practices, guys. This is the day of abstaining from vices and whatever you have, you know. Don't touch that alcohol, man. That is acidic, and it'll put poisons in your cerebrospinal, and it will burn and destroy that seed, because that seed is wrapped in linen cloth, in linen, so to speak, symbolically. This is why when Jesus is in Bethlehem in the manger, he's wrapped in fine linen, very protected from the elements. And that's what the great George Carey says about this Christos that is born in the solar plexus monthly, that it is protected against the acidity of the body. Only one enemy, Saturn, the ruler of acidity. Well, how about that? Isn't syncretism amazing how everything connects up, eh? You see, the sun is alkalinity, because that's the Arabic word for the sun. Alkali, the sun. So alkalinity. So you see, the sun is Jesus, and Saturn is Satan. And the sun rules alkalinity. That's why you go out in the sun and you get alkalized through photosynthesis and chlorophyll. But the enemy of Jesus is Saturn, the ruler of acidity in astrology. Saturn is the planet of acidity. Mars is the planet of bitterness. Venus is the planet of sweetness, and Jupiter. And Mercury is the astringent, and the moon is, I think it's pungent. But there are 7 tastes. There's salt, there's sweet, there's acid, there's bitter. Saturn is the ruler of acid. And so the only enemy of that Christ seed wrapped in linen is acidity, Satan. And this is why King Herod sends his men to go and kill all the children that are born in Bethlehem. Kill them all under the age of 2. Because that's acidity. That's Satan killing the seeds. And so if we protect our bodies, remember, diet is first, we will have a nice pH, and all of those seeds will rise. Many people write to me and ask me, can we then practice sex and drink alcohol and eat like gluttons after those 3 days, blah, blah, blah? Well, what does moderation mean, and what part of moderation do we not understand? So, sex is not forbidden. Sex is a gift from the gods, or from the Creator, because the gods are the demigods, which are the planets, the archons, the cosmocrators, the potters of Memphis, the archangels. They are all gods. For doesn't John 10:34 Jesus say, is it not written in your law that ye are gods? So it's all gods and God. And God, to get back to God in our head heaven, heaved up, we need to raise that Christ, and as it grows, if we protect it in practices of moderation throughout the whole month, not just those 2.5 days. So, for instance, if people have a question about sex, what sort of sex should they be practicing? Well, certainly not lustful sex. It should be transcendental lustful. You see, there's material lust and there's transcendental lust. And Krishna with his bride and goddess partner Radharani, they have transcendental lust for each other. And so this is true love. And so when partners get together in that kind of love, this is still a moderate way of exercising their sexual energy. And so slowly but surely that seed rises and climbs Jacob's ladder. And as Jacob, when he reached heaven and he struggled against the angels, he said, "For I have seen God face to face and I have not perished. I shall call this place Penuel," which is just a pun on pineal. And so when you see God face to face, you have raised the Christ, just as Jesus said to Nicodemus, the Son of Man must be lifted up, because that seed is the son of manna from the claustrum. And it's called, in esoteric theology, it's called the Son of Man, shortened from manna. And so if you want to be born again and see God face to face and not perish, you must raise that seed. Once it crosses the medulla oblongata at the top of the spinal cord and crosses the vagus nerve, which is the crucifixion, then you have higher activation of the higher mind and of the Christic mind and Christ consciousness and Krishna consciousness. And now the pineal gland is producing what is called the blood of the Christ, a supercharged dimethyltryptamine, which purifies the blood, keeps it clean, and keeps the body chemistry balanced, the pH, activates all the dormant brain cells in the cerebrum, not the cerebellum, which belongs to Taurus at the back of the neck. The cerebrum is the cerebram, Aries, the ram, the Lamb of God. And you'll find the two words Sarah Abraham in the cerebrum, because this is the promised land where Sarah and Abraham dwell, in heaven, head. And to get there, we must alkalize the body, or at least not necessarily alkalize. That's half truth, because a lot of people say you have to alkalize the body. Well, if the body's too alkalized, that's bad as well. It needs a balance of acidity and alkalinity. And so once we balance the body, everything must be balanced and moderated. Then we will raise the Christ. It will happen automatically. And the Christ will return. This is the second coming of the Christ. Because Christ is sitting at the right hand of God in heaven to do the will of God and to serve God, as we should all be servants of truth, because that's what God is, truth. You see? All these half-truthers out there that retort, "Oh, there is no truth." I'm astounded when I hear that. You'll be surprised. I can name names of all of these guys that get on the radios and tell you that there is no truth.
Right.
Right there in your face, they have denied the Creator. This is how stupid and dumbed down they are. And they call themselves truthers.
All right, Santos.
There is only truth. There is only truth.
Santos, we got about 15 minutes, and there's something I really wanted to get into, which is your recent arrest and engagement by the state. If you could tell our audience why you were arrested and what that whole ordeal was all about.
Okay, well, the recent one from since August the 4th to September 15, that was 6 weeks for contempt of court, supposedly. I did do something silly. I did send a nasty email to a judge of the Supreme Court in Victoria. So I'll take that and I'll come forward with that, because I made that public. And my intent was not to hurt anyone's feelings. Obviously, this lawyer barrister, judge, who is a servant of demons and a demon worshipper, was hurt and does not know that sticks and stones may break your bones, but names will never hurt you. And so he decided to prosecute me for calling him names, basically, and put me away for 6 weeks. And so justice will be met out to these individuals, all of them, all of the ones who ever laid hand on me and syncretism. And they will go to jail, they will be privately prosecuted, and justice will meet them as long as I live and as long as the Creator lives. These demons will suffer 1 billion-fold all the harm that they are doing. My original intent when I wrote that email to that judge, was to free God's children and all the people that they are people trafficking in their slave business called the bar and the barratry and personage that they commit on a daily basis. They are demons. They are worshippers of demons and they are slaves of demons, and they will perish in perdition forever. Forever. Not that I'm saying it. I'm just repeating the universal truths. These are evil witches. They are wizards and servants of Shaitan. They know not the truth, and they are people traffickers. And that's the reason why I wrote that. And I put my neck on the line for all of humanity, so that people trafficking will desist, and we will vanquish the demons from this plane. And we will, because syncretism will do it. That will do it single-handedly. Syncretism is going to achieve that goal. And then the first time I was put in a little cage for 9 days was for the traffic violations, which, incidentally, are still an ongoing matter. I want people to know this.
Victimless.
Yes.
Let's say victimless.
Yep. This is what will happen on April the 30th. I believe that there will be a court hearing for the name of Santos Bonacci in regards to $45,000 of outstanding tollway fines. And by the way, the original sum of the tolls, this is for all the shills out there who love to try and pull me down. The original figure, get this out to everyone, was $1,400 of fines, and they blew them out to $134,000, and that went in the media to discredit syncretism and me and the lawful sovereignty movement that is gaining traction by the day, so that we will vanquish these bar demons, money changers, and Jesus Christ, the Lord of heaven, will help each and every one of us in our truth movement, brother. Never forget, Daniel and Kim, never forget that we have the Lord Krishna and Vishnu and all the supreme lords of truth supporting us. So trust in the Creator with all your heart, and do not trust in men. Now, what I'm going to do before that date is I'm going to record a waiver, and I'm going to go with God. I'm going to waive all claims without God. So whether they continue their pursuit of surety business and people trafficking or not, I don't care. This is my notice to the world and to the bar that no man will judge me. Only God will judge me. And I will record it and certify it, and I will put that in the case file for the judge to see that I, Santos Bonacci, lawful name, go with God. Vaya con Dios. And they will know about it, and the whole world will know it. And the whole world will know how to waive their benefits, privileges and services, and to reclaim their dominion and their rights. And I will lead the way and show them, and lead the way and part the waters of the Red Sea, figuratively, of course, because there's going to be an idiot or two out there that will say, oh, Santo just said he's Moses, oh, he's going to part the waves. You'd be surprised, brother, how retarded people are, man. You'll be surprised. I get to know firsthand because they show me, people send me the videos of these idiots who are constantly like sheepdogs wanting to know what Santos Bonacci's saying, so that they can, like demons, they don't like a flower to blossom. They don't like the truth to be known on this plane, so that we can be free from these 4x4 shafts up our backsides from the demon politicians out there. They love it. Stockholm syndrome. Danny Wilton. He'll be the foremost Stockholm Syndrome buffoon on the planet. He's in love with cartoons, and that's all he teaches. He's got a cartoon show there going, and he's got about 14 or 15 boyfriends who support him, and he thinks he's going to destroy syncretism and discredit it. Well, I'll make sure that his name and all the rest of the buffoons out there get their names put in the book of shame for trying to discredit syncretism, and the comeback of truth to this plane to vanquish the demons that have these 4x4 shafts up their backsides. See, people like Danny, they want an 8x8, and all they're doing is spewing forth vomit into the airwaves so that other idiots can continue being stuck on this plane and reincarnating and suffering and being miserable. It's the Pied Piper. It's the blind leading the blind. And so hallelujah to syncretism, guys. Hallelujah, and spread it far and wide.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I think there's only one way to get to where we're going, and that's together. I think that people of like minds are reaching one another in the appropriate way. I think this show is one of those vehicles. I want to thank Santos Bonacci so very much. Thank you for coming on. It's been a long time coming, and you have certainly been a voice for me to know that I'm not alone. And I can only say that you must be that to so many other people, out there who don't have a way to let you know. But keep doing what you're doing, brother. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. And you too, guys. Love your show and your work. I know how costly it is for you to do this. You're living out of a car because of the demons and what they've done to people. Many people are in this situation right now, but that doesn't stop you from doing this, taking the time out to enlighten your brothers and sisters. Please do me a favor and don't stop. Stay on the path. Be a pather. Be a truther. Embrace the truth as it comes, even though sometimes it will shock you. It will shock you what's coming, because there's more lies to be exposed, guys. We've got a big work ahead, big mountain to climb.
Kim, you got anything to add?
Just want to say it was great to listen to you, Mr. Bonacci. It was, I watch your videos on YouTube, and it was an honor to speak with you. Thank you.
Likewise, sister. Thank you.
And thank you, Daniel, for having me as your passenger.
You know me. Santos, I will promote Know Thyself Part 1 and 2. Those are absolutely world-changing videos. If you do not want your world to be completely changed, don't watch them. But are there other videos that you would ask people to watch?
Yes, I would recommend, because we spoke about the chrism and raising the oil, I would recommend the video called Your Body is the Holy Land and Secret of Secrets, the Elixir of Life Hiding in You. Those two. And also the presentation that I did in Amsterdam. I think just punch in the words Santos Bonacci Amsterdam presentation. I think that one there also has quite a bit on raising the fluids. I don't remember because I never listened to my presentations after they've been released. So, thank you.
All right, guys. I had Santos Bonacci on, Kim Ochellii on. It's been a great show. I guess I'll see you next week.
Good night.
Radio.com, ZenTheCarRadio.com.